Hey, Olivier. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Oh,
it was gone to my headset. I was not sure.
how you getting on?
Fine, fine. A lot of client, too much client work to do. To be honest, I'm not able to move at the speed I want to. So it's a bit frustrating, but yeah, it's just a phase.
Just sort of like is it with the trampoline park client or is it different ones or what?
No, it's with the other one, the big one, the French Canadian tour operator. He's doing a push at the moment. Well, first of all, because of all the events, there's a lot of changes that need to happen. A lot of things. He's revamping the website as well, and all kind of things like that. And the guy was gone for at the same time that he's giving us a push to all of us. He gives his developer 2 weeks holidays. So I find myself having to do tasks that I should not be doing normally. But yeah, it is what it is. So.
Donald, how do you take that? Is that a typical Montreal behavior or is what is that?
The guy is a French imported anyway, so
Oh, well,
That makes
that
sense.
explains
he's
everything.
not a true Canadian.
But yeah, I've heard that one before. Heard going off on holiday and just not being as not making your life easy because obviously everything always requires some kind of input, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
are
yeah.
you still enjoying are you getting a bit of sunshine? We're getting a little bit of sunshine here.
Oh yeah. I was going to put a picture like of my cat and my dog together in the sunshine, in the garden, like laying down today, like enjoying. No, it was very nice. So yeah, it's good. It's spring almost for us here at the moment. So.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. We're getting a little bit of sunshine. It's coming. It's still a little bit cold. It's still
Yeah.
maybe like 10, 11 degrees. It's still chilly, but
No, but it's not good, you know. How do you stay in monk mode when it's like that? You know.
it helps me. I don't know. It helps me so much. It changes how you think. It changes everything really. It changes.
But it's funny. You can look at the face of the people outside when the sunshine comes after winter. People are smiling compared to grumpy faced. More people are smiling. It's so funny. It's really
so true.
visible.
It is. I mean, what was it? It's someone called it something the other day. It was something like you're a solar person or something. It's whenever the sun comes out, you're just positive. And I mean, I get up earlier. I just have more energy. By 9 a.m. I've done half of the stuff that I've got to do. And it really is crazy. But yeah, I'm looking forward to today today and yesterday were like a little peak of what summer's gonna be like. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm holding on to that hope that soon I will be able to sit outside. I mean, for someone who loves sitting outside as much as I love it, you'd question why on earth I live where I live. So doesn't make much sense. But yeah, we'll get there. But we've got some South Africans on the call today with us, and they're coming I think they're just coming out of summer, so they're probably glistening with kissed by the sun.
Yeah, we are. It's a little bit depressing, because it's starting to get darker in the morning. Look, it's still 28, 29 degrees, but the leaves are falling off the trees. You can feel the winds getting chilly, but it's not too bad. But I don't like winter.
I have zero sympathy for you. Zero, none at all.
Exactly.
And it even rained today. Can you believe that?
Oh, what a shame.
There was for an hour or two there, we couldn't see blue skies. It was terrible. I'm not coping.
We're all like gremlins coming out the house finally after a long winter, and it's been rough. It's been a long.
Oh, really? Eh?
It has been raining constantly, and I think going to Arizona made it worse for me because it gave me a sense of what what I was missing.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're looking forward to some sunshine. But listen, the South African winter is not so bad, right? It's not so bad. You still get your blue skies, a little bit of wind, I guess, right?
Yeah, but it drops below 20 and
Oh,
gets rough.
you gotta find out what a sweater feels like. Well,
Yeah, and I absolutely I hate wearing sweaters or jerseys as we call them. Yeah, they freak me out. It's much better to be in a short sleeve shirt or something along those lines. And then we've got to wear jackets every now and then.
oh, man. You'd be permanently freaked out where I live. You'd just be in a permanent state of feeling freaked out then.
I honestly would struggle with it. I have been up to Seattle. We've got family there. I've been up to Seattle quite a bit, and been in the snow and the cold there and the rain. And it's fun on a vacation, but no, I would genuinely battle. Hey,
actually, I struggled further when we lived further north last year. I struggled because it was because of the sea wind. It was cold during the summer. It would get to 20 on a good day. And we've moved further south now, so we'll get up to 25, 26, 30 degrees every so often, which is fine. That's good.
Okay.
But
both of you have not lived until you've lived through -30, -40.
No. I have a friend that I used to know. We lived together in Cape Town, and his name's Ivan. He would always. He never even wore shoes. He would wear like sandals or flip flops, board shorts, and a t-shirt. And you knew it was very cold and rainy in Cape Town because Cape Town can get quite cold.
Mm-hmm.
But you knew the weather was bad when he had we call them dry max. It's a very light waterproof jacket, very thin. He'd wear that. Now he's living in Calgary, and I see sometimes it's like -11, and I don't know how he's doing it.
That's a good day for Calgary.
I don't even think he owned a long pair of pants, so I don't know how he's doing it at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like when I was in Arizona, I was with a bunch of guys from Zimbabwe, and they all live in Calgary though, and it was as if they had just seen the light of day in Arizona, as if they just come out of the cocoon for like the first time in months, and they've never seen a daylight. I mean, to be fair, they get 300 days of sunshine out in Calgary, but I think still don't venture out the house. I think they stay inside.
No. Look, for most of summer in my office, I've got a glass sliding door. For most of summer, all the windows are open. That glass sliding door is open, and we have a ceiling fan on. That's
beautiful.
That's a good day.
I've been tempted on many an occasion to consider South Africa, but all my South African friends tell me otherwise. They tell me because you didn't grow up with the dangerous side of it, because you didn't grow up with that, you'll find it so severe. Whereas they can get used to it a little bit. They grew up with that, and it's just sort of part of normal life, being a bit more precautious. But apparently, because I didn't, I'd find it quite extreme, quite a change.
I have a friend by the name of David. He's actually, this is going to sound weird. He's an ex-vice cop from Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
He in the early, no, I'd say mid-80s, he was actually burned in a court case, and his identity was found out because he was undercover. Mm-hmm. And he left law enforcement. His wife owned a beauty salon, so he started working in the salon. He's a world famous nail trainer, David Fowler.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from law enforcement, he got divorced from his wife, moved to Germany, married a German girl, and he reckons when he travels Europe and when he comes to South Africa, he feels much more. He feels that he feels a lot more uneasy in Europe than he does in Africa.
Really?
Look, there's bad places in South Africa,
mm-hmm.
like anywhere. But I've been in places in New York where I felt scared as a South African. So, take what they say with a pinch of salt. You've got to come and have a vacation here and check it out. But there's great places in Durban, great places in the Eastern Cape, in Cape Town, where you won't, but I can also take you to really, really dodgy places in Cape Town where you will feel afraid. But that's part of the course in any country, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. You're right. I mean, I don't know. I have to come over. We're actually, when we you know, when we planned on eloping in South Africa, and that was like the plan, just because that's more of our style, to be honest. So I think that's what we're going to do. Is once the problem is just that we wouldn't want to come for like a week, right? We want to be there for 3 weeks. So it's just dog care. We were going to do it this winter. Then my dog watching, which is my mother, broke her arm, so she couldn't watch the dogs. She's all good now, but so that derailed the plans inconveniently, you know. So I will have to be next winter we do that. So I do have to come over. But
when you come, let me know. I'll tell you where to go, where to stay away from, and I promise you. Look, when I used to live in Cape Town, you're constantly obviously bumping shoulders with tourists and guys from Asia, from the East, from North America, from all over Europe, and guys come in, they go, "Oh my word, this place is paradise."
I've heard.
But there are bad parts and there are horror stories here. But like I say, you can experience the same thing, you know, anywhere. The last time I was in Europe, I don't know if I mentioned this, I was in the Netherlands in a small town called Soesterberg. And that night, there must have been about 10 or 15 cars in the garage parking lot that were broken into, and their radios were stolen at night. I've never seen that happen in South Africa. The guys will come into an area and steal from 1 or 2 cars, but I've never seen that. So take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, to be fair, most of them moved back to South Africa. Everyone except one of them. And to be fair, the one that didn't was actually kidnapped as a child. To be fair,
look, that's traumatic. That does happen. But hey, it happens in other countries. You know, so I love this country, but I'm also not. I'm not naive. You know, if you're alert and you just pay attention to a few basic things, you'll be fine. Eh? You really, truly will.
Yeah, I mean, it happened when he was a baby, and his family are quite wealthy as well. So I think it was pretty targeted, you know. Like they had big vineyards and all that kind of stuff. You know, they were pretty wealthy people. So I think it may have been a targeted. His dad paid the ransom and such, and it was over with. But yeah, I think it might be targeted. And I mean, I've got Yemi in the chat here. I know Yemi. I don't know if he's still. I wonder if been in the chat, Yemi. Are you still in DC, or is that where you are right now? Because I know he's originally from London, but moved to DC, and he says that Cape Town was one of the best experiences of his life. So I want let me know, Yemi, if you're still in DC. But all right. Does anyone have any questions before we dive into the training? Feel free to ask if you have anything you wanted to ask before, because the training will take about an hour or so. So if you have something, let me know just now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good for now. Thank you. I'll shout during the workshop if I do have questions.
No worries. No worries. Anybody else have something? Vince, do you have something? Go for it.
Do you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I had my mic. I thought I had my mouth. I hope I wasn't jumping in someone's ear. I thought it was off.
Okay.
Forgive me. Infiltrate, does that like saying you're going to look at someone's business to see the opportunities that are available that they're not aware of?
Infiltrate more so in the sense of the opportunity in the market itself, different niches, right? How we tap into those niches. So that's the context I'm using that term in.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have any questions they wanted to cover? Give you a few more seconds if there's something you wanted to cover. As ever, I will come back at the end as well and open up to any questions, and we can chat, have a discussion. But if there's anything you wanted to ask before we dive in, please let me know. I will take that as a no. All right. So today's training, as I said in the chats in the WhatsApp community earlier, this is a bit of a sleeper training, right? This is one that it's been rustling around in my mind for the past few weeks. It's been something I've been not considering, but reflecting on, because this is what we do. This is how we go very, very quickly. And this is why we have such success. It's because of what I'm about to teach you here today. Now, let me just go on to slide 2 here, because that's where we start. So Basically, this training is going to dive into how we infiltrate niches. So the different niches, how we find the opportunity and the gap, specifically with an AI employee as the service, right? So how do we actually sell AI employees? Now, we do not sell shiny AI shells. What I mean by that is we're not selling the features and benefits. Like I always say, this will take a bit of a different turn, but we're not ever selling what an AI employee can do, answering calls. We build AI employees that basically tap into the production lines, and the customers then stay for years because we remove painful, time-consuming problems. Now, let's dive in. So last week, our master of AI, the resident master of AI that we have, Alyssa, showed everyone how we build AI employees to such a depth, right? To such a level that the client never cancels, because nobody can compete with the level we build it to. The level of detail is incomparable to what most AI voice agents look like. We've all seen them out there, right? You're always coming across ads and such for different AI employees, AI phone systems, AI chatbots. The reality is most of them are generic, right? And we've seen, because I've bought a lot of them to see what they look like. You can pay $500, $1,000 for an AI employee, and it's just like one document, one single document, which could be maybe 2-3 pages long of ChatGPT produced information, and that is what it's considered trained. That's not the level we go to. Our knowledge bases have document after document after document, question after question that we have trained these AI employees on. So normally, this is what I mean by shell. Normally, they are a simple shell and they have no depth whatsoever. The customer installs it, they realize that it's completely useless, and they wait a month or two to see if it works, and then they cancel, right? It's just this repetitive cycle where they'll retain for 3 months. Now, I want you to notice something in particular here. Think about this. Over the last decade in the agency space, the average client retention rate of an agency is 3 months for pretty much every service: SEO, Facebook ads, the works, PPC, whatever it is, 3 months. Now, when you look at an AI employee and how they're sold to you, how they're built, all these different people that are telling you to build AI employees, sell AI employees, they are sold to you with the quality that the customer sticks around for 3 months on average and then disappears. So most of the AI employees that you see, when they're not built to the level we build them to, they're very shallow, and it results in being around for 3 months. Yvonne, yes, there is the replay. It's available to watch. Just I'll pause on this question because it's relevant to this, but the replay is within the portal. It's on GoHighLevel and it's in Teachable. We've got both of them up there. If you send customer support an email, they'll send you the direct link to the recording. And that goes for everyone as well. If you need the recording, I have posted it in the WhatsApp group. I have emailed it, but I see it. Just let us know. So what I was saying was, if over the past few years, the average retention rate is 3 months, if you look at the problems of a typical agency, it is all to do with retention rate. If the retention rate is very low, it's going to be very, very hard for you to build a strong business because you're constantly losing clients, right? It's very difficult. You're losing clients at a pace faster than you can replace those clients. So that's a problem. We all know that that is a problem. That is a constraint of our business, of our industry. So when you look at what most people are giving you for AI employees, and you see that if they're weak, the customer is going to churn within that 3 month mark. So it just repeats the same problem, right? If you are running these AI employees that are pretty weak, you're just repeating the same problem. They're selling you the same thing in a different wrapper, right? They're selling you what they sold you 3 years ago with Facebook ads, SEO, PPC. They're selling the same thing to you. It's just going to repeat that same cycle. So we have to interrupt that pattern. We don't want to recycle the same position, the same problems that have always been always existed in this space. So if you go that path outside of, if you think, well, it's easier for me to just buy a really quick AI employee and run it, you're going to repeat that pattern. You're going to see the same pattern over and over again. So we have to fix that, right? We have to fix that. We have to get it to a point. That's why we do it to such level of detail. That's why Alyssa showed you the knowledge bases that we build, how we build them, because the level of detail is so in depth that we don't repeat the same mistakes everybody else makes. It sets us apart. It levels us up compared to everyone else. So we continue. Today, I'm going to show you how this is a little bit different. As you know, there's a lot of detail that goes into our AI employees. Each of them, every niche is built and trained individually. You will see ads all the time for install an AI employee, but it's a generic AI employee. It's never custom. It's never specialized. It's completely generic. The ones that we run are built specifically for every single niche. It's trained for that particular niche. Now, I've spoken very briefly before about how we target very specific areas of the market. We research markets and we find the very time-consuming areas that each of them have. So instead of simply selling an AI employee like everybody else that answers phone calls, we are directly solving that painful problem. So we're finding very particular problems in markets, and then we're positioning for that problem. Now, the reality is, with the systems that we have, you have access to the 26 different niches, right? They're right there, 26 of them, all built out. So you can rotate and flip between those niches so quickly, so easily. But you can also have the depth, right? That's the benefit. Instead of generic AI employees, we're using the depth. The good news is you don't have to build that, right? You've got the depth right there. You've got the training. You've got the hours and hours and hours of training already built there. So your unique advantage, your unique identifier, is that you can go to that level of detail without having to do it all yourself. So we're solving a painful problem. Now, here's what I've learned, having been inside businesses that generates a lot of revenue, 8 figures, 9 figures, all the way, from 6 to 9 figures of revenue. This is what I've learned. And it applies to every stage of the journey, right? Whether it's whether your client is doing 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, it doesn't matter. None of them have time. None of them, right? None. Doesn't matter what stage, they do not have time. You'd be surprised. You might think, well, the business who is not doing as much revenue will have more time. No, they don't, because they've got less money, therefore have to do more themselves. The business then that does more revenue, has more money, therefore would have more time. No, they've got higher volume, therefore they've got more to process and are not doing everything themselves or can't do everything themselves. So each side of the coin, no matter which side we flip to, they do not have time. This is the key. They do not have time. None of them do. Now, this is specific to your typical offline business. What I'm about to say, right, is specific to your typical offline business. Now, I don't mean that they don't operate online. What I mean is that their product delivery is physical and they have to produce something. The reason I'm focusing on these businesses is simply because they go through a series of problems, which are here, right? All these ones here. So they have vendors to worry about. They've got consumables they have to order. They have to manage the profit margin whenever they order these consumables. They've got staff that they have to deal with, right? They've got sick days. They've got electricity bills. They've got HR problems. They've got the rent to pay for whatever office space they have. They've got things that break. They've got deadlines to hit. They've got customer service, and they have customer issues And one thing I haven't mentioned is making sales in all of that. All those things, yet they haven't made any sales yet. So think about how much is actually on their mind. It's quite significant. So each of them have all of these problems, every one of them, and we haven't even made any sales yet. We haven't even spoken about marketing problems, marketing issues, sales problems. We haven't even considered it. So when you think of a business owner, this is the key. All this means they do not have any time. So if you have ever hired anybody, or maybe you have been in a job before, which I'm sure many of us have been in before, you know, and I'm going to have to say this quite gently and softly because I don't want to ruffle feathers or make huge generalizations, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to. You know that our colleagues in those roles typically don't have great attitudes, right? The reason I can say this is because those of us who are here, those of us who are either here live or watching the replay, we have chosen to work harder than most. We've chosen to step outside. The reality is the majority of people don't do that. They won't put that extra energy in. They don't understand this. So they don't really care about their job. They show up. They spend time there. I didn't say work. I said they spend time there and then they go home. That's it. They just want that paycheck. They go home, they forget, they switch off, that's it. On that trip to Arizona, there was most of the people that I was with were business owners. There was one guy who was quite a really good job in like a business consultancy. He was the only one that didn't bring his laptop. He was the only one that did not have access to emails. We all of us had our laptops, right? We were still doing things. But he was cold, nope, nothing. So again, it's the difference in the mindset. Now, what does that mean? Where am I going with this? They're always shining lights on organizations, right? There's always people that are going to go above and beyond, but it's not the majority. It's not the majority. I'm talking about averages here. These businesses, the ones that I showed you that have very little time, have all those different moving parts, missing pieces. They have zero time. The only way they get more time is by delegating. These businesses are built on people who don't really care, right? They're built on people who don't really care. And that's somewhat fair because these people do not get paid more for caring more or doing more. They have no upside. So it makes sense, right? They're not going to care. But we're not here to discuss that. That's an argument for another day. We're here to identify the opportunity. So we're going to start thinking about the inefficiencies here. How much better could these businesses operate if they could hire killers in each department? How much better that's why good talent is so expensive. How much better would these businesses be? I mean, what if their customer service rep actually tried to upsell a customer? What would happen if they tried to do that? What if the customer service rep answered every question with the same energy and level of detail? What if they didn't get tired at 5 p.m.? Now, it's not their fault. Answering the same question 100 times a week gets old very, very quickly. It really does. But again, spot the inefficiency. That has a financial outcome attached to it, right? If they're not upselling, if they've got lower energy at the end of the day, it has a financial outcome attached to it. They're not going to be making as many sales. The upside for the business is not going to be as high. Now, what if they had an AI employee that could be installed that allowed them to produce custom quotes based on the detail? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say an AI employee that makes more sales. No. Let's get very particular. I told you at the start of this training that we're going to be looking at very niche problems, how we identify those niche problems. Here, we're going to make the transition to this. So what if you had an AI employee that could be installed that allowed them to produce custom quotes based on the detail? What if instead of a customer having to call that business to get a quote, that could be automated and also have sales language and patterns built into it? What if instead of giving them a quote, they actually had the sales psychology behind it, right? What if we had that ability? What if we could solve that problem for them? What if, and again, we're going to cover two realities here, right? In so many businesses out there, if a customer calls to request a quote, they either have to wait for a call back from a sales rep, or the customer service rep just gives them the price. In the first scenario, when the sales rep has to call them back, there's a gap there. The prospect can lose excitement. They can go and find a competitor. They can have second thoughts. Basically, they risk losing that lead, right? That's what happens, is the risk of losing the lead increases because the excitement level has dropped, and that there's a time delay between when they're interested and when they get that conversation, when they get what they want. There's a time delay. How many times have you heard someone on a fitness regime say, well, before you eat that pizza, I want you to spend 15 minutes, drink a glass of water, and then think, do you really want that pizza? Oftentimes the answer is no, we don't want that, because logic starts to kick in. So the same thing happens. If we're waiting for that rep to call them back, other things can happen, right? They can lose the lead. Now, in the second scenario, there's absolutely no sales strategies being used. It becomes transactional, which means all the customer hears is price. Then they disappear. This is why sales calls exist. This is why we don't just say, oh yeah, it's $10,000. Because all the customer hears is price. This is why the customer books the call. We take them through the process of connecting discovering their pain points, their problems, the issues that they've been dealing with. Then we connect that to revenue, making money, right? We connect it to revenue, and then we identify what that problem is worth to them. How much money are they losing? Then we drop the price, because it's no longer just the price. There's context to that. So when a customer service rep simply gives the price, none of that happens. It's purely, do you want a new roof? Yeah, it's $20,000. That's all they hear. There's no magic to it. So they're going to lose a lot of sales simply because the customer service rep is just giving a price. But again, that's not their role. That's not what they do. It's not their fault. Now, imagine how frustrating this actually is for a business owner. The business owner puts all the effort into doing good work, getting referrals, spending a fortune on marketing, running Google ads, Facebook ads, you name it, they run it. A customer finally calls and they lose them because of that. They lose them because a sales rep doesn't call them back fast enough. They lose them because the customer service rep just tells them the price because they've got their lunch in 10 minutes. How frustrating would that be? I would be annoyed. I'd be incredibly annoyed. I'd think, I put all that money and training into it, and because your lunch is in 10 minutes, the lead is gone. But we've got to manage your expectations. It's not really their fault. Of course, they're not going to do that. But here's the reality. It's extremely inefficient. It's very, very inefficient. So we start to unlock the problems here, right? Those very particular problems that we can solve. So we're no longer selling an AI employee to answer phone calls. No. We're positioning it to solve that very particular problem. And I can rub salt in the wounds a little bit. I can give that example. Every business owner has experienced that. Every business has experienced losing customers because the sales rep or the customer service rep had a bad day. Every one of them. So we can rub salt a little bit in the wounds. We can position the AI employee to solve these very particular problems. Now, I'll give you an example. Maybe they work in an industry like the print industry. I've used this example a few times in the past few weeks, and it's very, very relevant to what we're doing here. So in the print industry, the file resolution a customer uploads for printing needs to be at a certain level, right? So the resolution of the image, the graphic, must meet minimum standards. Do you know how much time these companies waste going back and forth with a customer about file resolution? So many hours, ridiculous amounts of hours. Then to fix that, they have to ask the customer to mess around on Canva to fix it, when the reality is they don't even really know what file resolution is. So we're asking these customers who have no idea what to do to fix the problem themselves. I've had calls with print companies and I've asked them, why do you not use Shopify? Why are you asking them to request quotes for this very simple process when everybody else is using Shopify for direct purchase? One customer can simply order from your competitor in 30 seconds, but for you, they have to submit a quote, wait for a callback, then process the order, wait for an invoice to come through, put their card details in. How much more friction is there? And the response to me was, well, the reason we don't do it is because whenever we do, and we have in the past tried to automate that order process, all we get is questions about file resolution. All we get is back and forth. We can't handle that. So we just don't do it anymore. How much money are they losing? Because I wouldn't wait for the quotes. If I needed it, I would just order online. So you see how much money they're losing, the inefficiencies for a very particular problem, very specific scenario. Not getting more sales, getting more business, a very simple, particular problem that we can solve. So the punishment for not doing it is so severe. So for example, if the print image, the graphic, isn't the right resolution, the print doesn't come out the right way. So the business either has to reprint it to keep the customer happy and then lose their profit margin, or alternatively, they ship the product anyway, they print it and ship it anyway, the customer complains, they have to reprint it anyway, and the customer never orders again because the customer will never blame themselves, right? They'll always blame the company. This happens every single day, over and over and over and over and over again. Yet an AI employee can solve this very niche problem that nobody else ever thinks about. How do we just get the file resolution? Who can check that? How do we tell the customer what to do? How do we give them the instructions? An AI employee can solve that. Is it worth it for the business? 100%. Because it removes a big aggravation. That's the beauty of it. Think about these very particular niche problems. It's such a simple fix. They just install an AI employee. It does it all for them. All of a sudden, they're not losing sales to their competitors. All of a sudden, they're not dealing with customer service hours spent answering the same questions about file resolution. All of a sudden, they're not losing orders. They don't have to reprint things. Their profit margin increases. But all we did was install an AI employee. But yet, if I approached them and said, this will make you more sales, I sound like everybody else. But the second I approach them and I say I can fix this very particular problem, they listen to me. You see the difference? This is the magic in it, right? I'm not doing anything different. My AI employee isn't really any different to anybody else's. I'm just positioning it a different way on a very particular problem. That's it. We have to look at the problems people don't want to deal with. I told you that these companies are incredibly busy. All of them. So they don't have the time to make sure file resolutions are of the right level. They don't have the time to do that. The customer service rep just becomes aggravated. They don't really care if they lose the sale. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. They don't care. You see how there's an inefficiency there? There's a gap forming there when we do care. that they get the sale, when we can take it off the business owner's plate without removing the attitude to get the sale, to convert the sale, it presents opportunity. Now, as we progress, here's what makes the difference. You do not want them to notice your AI employee. And this will maybe change how you view things. You do not want them to notice your AI employee. You basically want them to forget that it exists because it's seamless. You want it to fit into the workflow where all of a sudden they just don't have to deal with those questions anymore. They don't have to deal with it. It's off their plate. It's like magic. The thing that used to annoy them every single day, the thing that in the middle of the night when a customer orders and they've got to wait 6 or 7 hours for a response, the customer wants a refund or cancels that print order, for example, it doesn't happen anymore. That aggravation has disappeared. Think about the relief someone feels when that is lifted off of their plate. It's incredible. So you want it to fit into that workflow seamlessly where they don't even notice it. They just notice the relief. They just trust that it's taken care of and they continue focusing on other areas. When you create this type of scenario, they keep paying you every single month for the convenience of not having to think about all of that. It just makes it easier. If they cancel it, they have to deal with all of that pain. It comes back again. All of those questions, all of the back and forth, all of the issues. Think about it, right? All that pain. Whereas if they just keep paying you, they don't have to build anything. They don't have to figure anything out. They don't have to figure out how to deal with the customer. They don't have to worry about the 6-hour time when they fall asleep. They don't have to worry about sick days and the email's not getting picked up on. They don't have to worry about being on vacation because they all need a break. And the customer service rep becoming sick. And then they have to answer all the emails themselves in order for the business to keep running. So think about the relief you can provide to those business owners simply by taking it away from them. And the pain to cancel is so severe, they do not want this. But with you, they don't. The problems just disappear. And nobody ever thinks of an AI employee like this. Yet it's incredible. It solves the problems. It solves the problem for the business owner. Now, we continue. So when I say become part of the production line, this is what I'm talking about. This is the exact positioning I'm talking about. We become part of the production line. An e-commerce company can't stop buying shipping labels. It's inconvenient to change their setup. So it doesn't matter if someone offers it 10% cheaper. They don't really care because it's so inconvenient to their workflow to change providers, right? They've got to figure it all out. They've got to look at shipping times, quality. Does it come through in a rush? You know, when they really need new shipping labels, they've got lots of orders around Black Friday. Can that company actually deliver? There's too many variables for that 10% to make a difference. They don't care. So they never change. So these shipping label companies have incredibly high retention. Now, this is not me telling you to start a shipping label company. The margin, I looked at it, the margins are next to nothing. The point is, there are things that we can learn from these industries that have incredibly strong retention. What can we take from that? What can we look at their business and say, you know what, they do this really well. If I simply take this into my high margin, high profit, very lucrative industry, and I replicate the style of customer they have, the style of relationship they have, how they operate. What if I just take the good parts of that and I bring it to my business? It starts to work, right? There's a lot we can learn. And this is when I encourage you to step outside the box, right? I encourage you to look at businesses, look at what they do really well. Consider what works. Consider landlords. Landlords have a great business model. Yes, the margins are not as great anymore because of interest rates, but it's an excellent business model because no matter what happens, they've got to have a roof over their heads. They're going to keep paying it. They never ask the landlord for a discount, rarely, right? Think about retirement homes or retirement, not necessarily homes. If you know the ones I'm talking about, the retirement facilities where they just rent apartments, right? There's no service really provided. It's just apartments. Incredible business model because the older people don't change. They don't move homes. So the retention is very strong. Might sound completely left field examples, but what can we learn from that? What can we learn about the type of customer we want? They don't care about the frills of the home. Well, let's go for businesses that don't care about the frills of the service, right? The ones where it just sits in the background and keeps operating over and over and over again. The ones where it's very inconvenient and disruptive to change. The ones where the upside to change is much lower than the aggravation and frustration it causes to actually change it themselves. Think about that. How do we position our business like that? When you build like this, what happens is you stop losing customers. Every customer you bring in is not 1 month, it is not 3 months, it is years of business for you. How strong and stable a base is that to build on versus what everybody else tells you, which is get a 3-month contract because the customer's going to be annoyed by month 3 and cancel? How much less stressful is that? How much better? How much stronger? How much does that fit your lifestyle of not really wanting to have to worry all the time? Think about the relief that gives you. So, what if we take this approach with AI employees? What if we look at the problems in a production process and train an AI employee to solve that problem, all the inefficiencies? If we do this, it slots directly into that production process. If they stop paying you, if their card declines, if they cancel, all of that pain and disruption reappears. But remember, the upside they have for changing isn't really that high. They're still going to have to pay for it. Maybe they save 10% somewhere. It's not worth 10% of that cost, which may be 1% margin difference, probably less. It's not worth that to them. So once they're with you, they never cancel. So every new customer allows you to build that snowball. Like imagine rolling a snowball, right? The more you roll it, the bigger it grows. That's the type of business we're building here. And it's all about how we approach this. And again, nobody will ever tell you this because it's not as exciting as telling you, sell on this AI employee that knows everything about their business. No. Be very specific. Solve the problem and you'll never look back. You really, really won't. So let's look back quickly at the printing example, just for context. Again, I'm not recommending this market. This is purely for context. The business owner, the printing business owner, doesn't make more money by handling their customer service questions about file resolution themselves. It just takes them more time, which then takes time away from other things. If they do it themselves, they need to do the back and forth 5 times per day, which is another hour of their 8-hour workday consumed. It's gone every single day. This repeats. They could be out there focusing on the production, keeping the machines running, getting more customers, adding new machines, growing. And this is the thing. No one ever tells you this. They just tell you, well, if they should be focusing on getting more customers and the machines just print themselves. That's not true. The machines break all the time, constantly. They've got to replace things. There's downtime with the machines. They've got maintenance to do. Just like a pizza shop, they've got maintenance to do with the pizza ovens, right? All these things that we do not have to consider as online business owners, they have to deal with it all the time. So when we think about it, and we think, well, how do we solve this problem? Think about HVAC, right? I'm building something around it for HVAC, but so it's quite fresh. HVAC, you think, well, they've got the systems. Yeah, but what if their van breaks down? and they can't get to their appointments. That's annoying. It happens. It happens. What if the example I used, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I mentioned the trucking companies, and I mentioned how they've got these huge loans, like $650,000 loans on these trucks that can move equipment, heavy duty machinery, right? And if the business owner isn't, or the truck isn't on the road, they can't do anything. They don't make any money. All they do is the debt compounds. Now, you might think, okay, they just work all the time. But what if their kid's sick in hospital? What if they have an accident one day? What if a family member dies and they have to go to the funeral? What if one of their kids is off school sick that day? You see how all these things we never think about start to crop up and disrupt these business owners? This is what they're juggling. So selling them new things doesn't always work because they don't want new. They want to improve what they currently have because it's less to think about. So we position it as, how do we solve their problems? How do we take it off their plate? When you start to give them the relief like that, where you can take it off of their plate, sales start to happen. You take the worry away. You take the concern away. That's the reality. So to come back to the printing example here, they could be out there focusing on the production, keeping the machines running, getting more customers, adding new machines, growing their business, or they can spend time speaking to a customer about file resolution who doesn't understand file resolution. Which path do they want? They've also got issues with copyright, right? They can't print copyrighted designs. Customers find a design they like of Superman, upload it. Yeah, let's go with this one. They can't print that. So they're going to have to explain copyright laws to the customer. Or could we have an AI that scans for that? It's very easy to do. An AI employee can scan for it. Copyright issues. I can tell the customer what to do. What if we take that away from them? Right. So again, I'm giving you these ideas to simply drop the pebble in the pond. So you start to see, well, wait a second, are there other problems in businesses that we can fix? Are there other issues that they have? So the custom swimming pool example I've given you, do you know how much time these people waste going out to the property? Because they often have to do property visits, right? Where the person thinks a resort-style pool is going to cost them $10,000 when it costs $80,000. Do you know how much time they waste doing that? How much fuel they waste doing that? How much priority they give over other leads? Only to be told they've got a $10,000 budget for an $80,000 pool with no credit. Huge amounts of time. What if that could be fixed? What if we could solve that problem? This is the pattern. This is the direction I want to get you thinking about. It's a tremendous problem. Or solar companies. Again, I give you examples to just drop the pebble, but solar companies who end up out at properties for residents who rent the property, who don't own the property. Big problem, they can't make any decisions. Do you know how much time they spend doing that? A shocking amount. You wouldn't believe. You might think, well, yeah, surely they just ask if they own the home. You would not believe what happens in the world. Or maybe the roof isn't appropriate, or maybe there's a big tree, or something like that. Or maybe it's an apartment building. Again, I appreciate you might think that sounds ridiculous. Who's ever going to think they can put solar in their apartment building? You would be shocked at the amount of people that think that, because they see the savings, right? And think, oh, maybe I could get that. Who knows? It's a free consultation. Time wasted. Time wasted every time. So there's so many problems we can be solving here that are not simply the typical path, right, that everybody else tells you. They're very specific. And remember, like I always say, with specifics comes pain. What I mean by that is when we're very specific with a problem, the pain is much stronger. The person feels it. So oftentimes, I won't say to a business owner, you miss phone calls because that's a soft statement, right? But when I say you're at the dinner table, your phone rings, it goes to voicemail. That was a lead. You lost the lead because the phone went to voicemail. They can picture much more vividly at the dinner table, the phone going to voicemail, letting the call go to voice, because that they don't think I'm going to miss this call. They think I'll just let it go to voicemail. That's how they think. So the pain is much fresher, much stronger. So we want to be specific, and that's what I'm teaching you here. It's how we can be specific to these business owners about very particular problems. So which path do they want? And of course, the path that they want is they want it just taken care of. They don't want to have to do anything. They don't want to have to think about it. They just want it taken care of. And the beautiful thing is, we can do that. We can take care of it for them. And this is how we think of AI employees. We always look at the pain it removes. We always look at the outcome it produces. Now, you may have heard this before. The money is made when we take the online capabilities to boring businesses. It's when we take technology into areas that don't have technology in it. And I've spoken before about the company that I know that delivered materials, tools, and so on to job sites around Toronto. So basically, what happened was it was an app and it worked kind of like Uber, right? But instead of having to go to Home Depot yourself, the company would simply order like wood or a certain screw or whatever they needed. They would just order and it would be delivered to the job site within a few hours. Now, is that needed? Ask that question. Is that needed? Do they really have to do that? Or could they just go themselves to get it? Of course they could go themselves. Of course that's what they've done for 20 years. But what does that mean? What does it mean if they go themselves to Home Depot? Well, they'll send two of the guys to do it, right? But what that means is that's time away from the job site. The guys who went to the store would go and stop at McDonald's while they're on their way. They would have a nice bacon and egg sandwich or whatever it is. They'd take forever to come back. They'd waste time. They'd wander around Home Depot trying to find. It's not that one. I haven't come across that one, Vince, but maybe it's similar. I can't even remember what it was called. No, gone. Can't remember what it was called, the app. But yeah, so these guys, they'll wander around being cute. And I remember, and I know this because when I was growing up, I worked in a supermarket, and from the age of about 16 to maybe like 20 or so, around about there, I worked, or maybe 90. I worked in a supermarket, and I was at university at the time, so I had to work like the not the night shift, but like the 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift. And I worked in like doing the shelves and things in the homeware department. And we used to go into the warehouse and just all the guys would hang in the corner for as long as we could get away with hanging around in the corner. We did this every day. Think about that happens all the time, right? When someone goes to Home Depot to pick up the supplies, these guys are wandering around looking for the supplies. They're not looking, they're just wandering around. But it's inefficient. It's so inefficient. So now, even though they could do it themselves, they can just get it delivered straight to the job site in half the time. But that's a boring problem to solve, right? But it works. It's an incredibly successful company now. Solving a problem you'd never probably think about. The guys stopping in at McDonald's or wandering around Home Depot, you never think about that problem. You never think it really was a problem. But it is. So, as we continue here, this is how we treat an AI employee. We build it out to solve these very particular problems. Then we install it into a business and it solves the problem in the background. The business owner doesn't want to enter a world where they've got to solve that problem themselves again. They don't want to go backwards. They never want to be in that scenario because they can remember the pain. So they keep paying you every month. That's the beauty. And instead of having the typical 3-month agency churn like everyone else has, You have a business where the customer just pays and pays and pays for years. You have a foundation that you can build on top of. Instead of losing the floor every 3 months, you build on top, on top, on top. Because the business owner never wants disruption. I showed you the image earlier with all the different things they're dealing with. Do they really want to have to go figure out that problem again once they've ticked it off their list as solved? No, they don't want to do that. They don't want to have to do that. They have things going wrong all the time. They're putting out fires all the time. They're not going to choose more disruption by stopping what you're doing. That takes problems off their plate. If it works, they just keep going. This is how we drive profit on autopilot for years and years, doing the same thing. It just sits in the background. And that's the beauty of an AI employee, and that's what everybody misses. Now, software, you can compare it to software to some extent. Software can sit in the background of a business, but there's a problem with software. The problem is implementation. The business owner might want the solution to the problem, but how many times have you downloaded a software and you've tried to integrate it or implement it, and you can't get it to work? You just think, I can't do this. I don't have the time to do this. And as much as it would have been useful, you never end up doing it. I mean, how many of us have actually done that before? I certainly have, and I'm pretty sure every one of us has done that before. I tried to do Hyros, right? I tried to do Hyros, not Hyros, but the Hyros Air, the second one. Great concept. Sounds fantastic. Doesn't work with Shopify email. They wanted me to do this big workaround, and I thought, you know, I just don't have time for that. I don't have time to get email lists from Shopify that I don't even own. This is for a client. I don't even own them. So I don't have time to go back and forth. And just like Olivier was saying about his client earlier, where they go on vacation, this client has 110 million things to do all the time. Getting them to do anything is a nightmare. So I'm not going to open that door, open that can of worms. So when we look at that and we think software, but the problem with it is implementation. The difference is
did that with GoHighLevel at the beginning, to be honest.
Yeah. Exactly.
How many of us got overwhelmed by all the functionalities and, you know, think like, oh no, it's too much. Instead, if you don't have the strategy, that implementation is key.
100%. We obviously deal with all of the support for GoHighLevel, and I can tell you that every single person has had issues with one aspect or another, right? So it happens all the time. But the answer to that is, with an AI employee, we take that frustration and that pain away from them. We give them the outcome that they want. We relieve them of the pain without having to do any of the other stuff they would typically have to do with software, right? So we're in that middle ground where it's automated, it's systemized, it's recurring, but they don't have to do anything. It's better than software because it's taken care of for them. Any problems are fixed. They don't have to fix it themselves. So they don't change. So if we thought software was sticky and it retained customers, which it does, think about how sticky this is when they don't have to do anything themselves. It's like Stripe. Stripe just sits in the background, and every time you take a payment, they take their cut. You don't even notice it. So I'm learning from all of these businesses. And what we're doing, and what we're always doing, is we are taking the best parts of those systems that work incredibly well, implementing them into what we do. So we're replicating the best parts of all these businesses and putting them where we need to be. So AI employees, this is how we think about it. And everybody misses this. Every person you see out there doing it misses this. Now, the final aspect of this is visibility. Now, we want to sit in the background, right? Like I said, we want to sit in the background, but we want to control the narrative. That's very, very important. We have to tell them how to think, how to think of us, think of our service. What do they think of it? We don't let them think what they want. No, no, no. We control the narrative. We tell them what to think. So I want to give you the example of Instacart. Instacart is a grocery delivery service. Again, kind of like Uber for groceries, right? You can order from stores and someone will pick it up and they'll drop it off to you. When you place an order or over time, it sends you updates to say, you saved $20 with Instacart today, finding the best deals, or you saved 2 hours from going to the store. It reminds you of the benefits you're receiving with every single order. It tells you how to think. It wasn't just, it was convenient, but you've got to pay extra fees for it. No, no, no. It tells you how to think of it. It controls the narrative, and it's a reminder. Now, people don't need to learn new and exciting things all the time. They don't have the capacity to do so. They simply need a reminder. Again, how many times, and I go through this all the time, people come to me with certain things, certain ideas, and I honestly say, I don't have enough capacity to think about it. It sounds like a great idea, but it's not my idea right now. I don't have enough bandwidth to think of these things. How many times have you come across something you think, that's a great idea, but I've got so much on my plate right now. I've got so many spinning plates. I just can't do it right now. We've all been there before. Every one of us has seen an idea that we thought that's pretty cool, but it's probably not for us right now. So we don't need to have new and shiny, exciting things all the time. We just have to be reminded to stay the course. So when they think, I've forgotten what I'm paying you for, you remind them. We never get into that situation. We remind them of the benefit. Now, an example of this. You do this with your AI employee. There are different types of updates that I like to send. For example, if our AI employee was called Robocop, for this example, Robocop saved you 60 hours this week in staff time. Your AI employee handled your customer service, handling over 300 inquiries. That saved you $1,200 in staff time this week alone. So you can quantify that was just at $20 an hour, right? Then at the end of the month, you saved $4,800 in staff time and converted $5,000 in sales directly from Robocop's conversions. So we're directly telling them the impact. You need to send them that reminder every week automatically. It just goes out. It just happens, right? We don't expect a reply. We don't need anything from them. We just need to point that out. We just have to control the narrative. It controls how they perceive your system. And this works incredibly well, especially when you add in the automations, right? When you add in database reactivation and customer loyalty, it works incredibly well. Now, a quick note here. I'm going to be doing a session on customer loyalty programs pretty soon. I've discovered a little bit of a jewel in this area, and I'm going to share it with you. This is some stuff that you may not have seen, and it's not necessarily related to GoHighLevel. It's some other stuff, but I've discovered this, and I want to share it with you. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've mentioned it before. We've got loyalty programs installed for some of our clients, and it basically reminds them every month how much money they made with the loyalty programs. And it's just offers for existing customers, and it'll come back to them and tell them they made $17,000 this month, or 11K last month, I think it was. And this is low season actually. They're never going to cancel that, right? Because why would they cancel something that maybe cost them $100 a month? Maybe I think this one's the particular is $300 a month, but they make 17,000 out of that. Beautiful. Sits in the background. So you'll see a little bit of a pattern here, right? Everything I'm talking about, every system I bring up, every little gem that I share sits in the background. It's a system that just sits there and does the work, delivers the result, reminds them of the result, and we get paid for it, right? That's the beauty of it. So you'll notice a pattern. But anyway, I'll share that coming soon with a workshop. I'll deliver a workshop just like this one on a Wednesday for you, and I'll show you what to do. But we can combine these systems and send those weekly updates, controlling how they perceive the service. This means that they never cancel. Yet it's so simple to do it. Now, the key here is to understand how we identify the niche problems in a market and how we solve them with AI employees. It doesn't have to be crazy. It just has to solve the simple problem and then fit directly into the business. That's all we have to do. Solve the simple problem with an AI employee. Solve the problem. Life insurance agents, they hate having to follow up with leads. They hate having to sit and dial phone numbers all day long, but it's what they have to do. How did we solve that problem? We automated the process. It just dials for them, then it connects them to a warm lead. Done. The AI employee can basically filter the lead, and it then sends them through to the agent. Solves the problem, right? Simple problem. But you can see how with each niche we're adjusting how we present this. We just tweak it slightly. So everybody misses this. They try to sell the shininess of an AI employee. We don't have to do that. We build for retention. And I can assure you, when you can do whatever you want on a day-to-day basis, even on weekends, and you still have payments flowing in, it's a beautiful world. But this is how you achieve it, and this is how you build up. This makes the difference, and it will set you apart. It will build retention, and it also means you don't have to convince or sell anyone anything. Now, they know the problem exists. They already see it. They experience the problem themselves. They know it exists. These problems that we solve, the file resolution, they already know the pain of that issue. It already exists. It's so simple. The problem is there. And then after you install it, the problem is no longer there. When we think about a sales pitch, you have problem, we do this, problem gone. That's it, right? It's as simple or as complicated as we have to make the pitch. It's so simple and straightforward. Problem there, do this, problem gone. Problem there, we do this, you do nothing, problem gone. What a sales pitch, right? People pay thousands for that sort of stuff. That beautiful sales flow. Now, there's a beautiful thing. An AI employee is what we'd call intangible, right? They can demo it, they can somewhat experience it, but they can't really feel it. It lives in the stratosphere, right? An AI employee, what is this thing? They can't see it physically. They can't really touch it. They don't really know what it is. It just sort of exists there. Now, in intangible things are harder to sell. That's why physical products sell better than digital products, because someone can hold it, right? It's physical. So we don't want to be the victims of something that's harder to sell because it's intangible. Not victims, that's the wrong word. We don't want to suffer the increased challenge of selling something that's intangible, right? But we can change this. They feel the problem they have. They feel that problem. They feel the call going to voicemail. They feel the problem of when they come home, like a HVAC technician, they come home from work, they're sitting on the floor with the kids, the phone's ringing, it goes to voicemail. They feel that problem. They know there's money left on the table. They feel the problem. The printer feels the problem of waking up, losing orders, getting refund requests because they didn't reply fast enough to orders, to quotes, or whatever. They feel the problem of 30 emails per day about file resolution. They feel the problem. The problem is tangible. Remember that. AI employee, intangible, harder to sell AI employee. The problem, however, is tangible. So we sell the solution to the problem, which is delivered through the mechanism of an AI employee. That's tangible. That is almost something they can touch because they can feel it. The problem is emotional. They can feel it. Far more tangible, much easier to sell. So we sell the removal of the problem because they have that emotional connection tied to it. We're simply going where the demand already exists. This makes life a lot easier. Nobody is in this space. Software tries to do it, but the issue is the software requires the customer or the client to do it all. They've got to do it themselves. They require them to set it up. There's friction. They don't want to do that. They don't want to spend more time. We already discussed they don't have time. They don't want to spend more time. That requires overcoming mental hurdles and belief barriers as to whether they can do it, because everybody believes they're not really that technical. Most people do. I'm not technical. I can't do it. That's a belief hurdle, right? You don't want them to have to make that leap. We just do it for them. So our offer is so simple and clean. You have that problem. We do everything and install our system. The problem is no longer there. How much cleaner and simpler is that? Right? It's so much simpler. It's an easy yes. It's the easiest yes they'll have. The question simply becomes, do you want to continue dealing with that problem yourself? Or do you want us to just fix it right now? The solution and the relief is so close, because remember, they can feel the emotion of the problem. They can feel the pain of it. The relief is so close, they can almost touch it. It's right there. That problem can be fixed. All they have to do is say yes. So it becomes an easy yes. And this is how you infiltrate markets. That creates the evergreen profit because of the retention using AI employees. This is the magic behind it. This is what we do. This is how we do it. We solve the problem. We sell the problem and the solution to that problem. We get very, very specific on those problems. And then we go into the niche to fix it. That's it. As simple as that. So the goal and objective of this workshop was to change how you see things, to drop the pebble in the pond. My goal is to get your mind running and racing with ideas of different niches, different industries. Or maybe that's a problem I could solve. Or maybe you're wondering, which problem can I solve? How does it work? Or maybe you have a niche in mind and you want to understand what the problem could be that the AI employee can solve and how it would be positioned. So on that note, I'm going to open it up to any questions that anyone has, anything you wanted to chat about, anything you found, any feedback that you have on this, any thoughts, questions, queries, whatever it might be. I've been speaking for about 60 minutes straight, so my voice is starting to strain, as you can probably hear. So does anybody have any questions, any feedback, any ways they want to implement this into their business? Feel free to raise your hand or leave it in the chat there. And Vince, I know you were saying that you did the loyalty programs with your client as well before your SEO client, and it does really work. I agree, and you're welcome, Yvonne. No problem at all. All right. Does anybody have any questions? No worries, Yvonne. One says in the chat there, it's very helpful, makes total sense.
I have a question.
Just
So
small technical. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
Vince, go for it. You're unmuted first there.
Okay.
You won the race. Go for it.
So are we you're looking to accomplish that by like customizing a workflow in the GoHighLevel with that?
More so just tweaking an AI employee to solve the particular problem. So the knowledge base an AI employee has, just simply adjusting it to what the the very particular problem they have. If it's file resolution, if it is HVAC, and it's discussing the different pricing options, but positioning it so it's sales terminology, sales language, pulling it out of the customer. It's just all done with how we train an AI employee. the reality is you've got the bulk of the infrastructure there, so it's just tweaks that we're making to employees.
Yeah, I mean, so for like sending the report every week.
All right, yeah, you can. So getting it to discuss the volume that has been sent is very easy. It just reports on the number. Getting it to connect to sales, you basically have to. It's a little trickier to do that one. So the base level, the minimum viable is how many conversations handled, convert that to time saved. And that's easy to do. That's just an automation in GoHighLevel.
Yeah, like automation with some type of spreadsheet fed with variables and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The trickier one is the how many sales it generated, because it typically involves connecting with like through an API or into Stripe or whatever payment platform they use. It's doable, just a little trickier.
Okay. Yep.
All right. Olivier, go for it.
But just to rebound on that, it can be maybe dealt with at the level of opportunity. If the opportunity is closed as 1 and it was with an amount who was clear, then that could be the signal to show up on the report as a closed.
Exactly. Or calls booked, for example. Opportunities created is another one.
That's also a possibility. Yeah, it was on the same thing. I was curious about that weekly report and how to produce it. For the rest, I'm gonna have to think a lot about niches and stuff. But yeah, I see the idea and the strategy behind. It's very nice. Very nice positioning. I like it better. No, but it's like it's so. I have so many pushy, salesy method. I want to get away as much as possible from that. So yeah, I like the simplicity of that kind of approach. So yeah,
it's purely inspired from like his. One of the biggest problems is that when we're in this industry, right, the marketing space, we're hit with a lot of marketing, and again, every one of us can relate to that. Just go up on your Instagram timeline. How long is it before you see a salesy style ad, right? And they always push a certain narrative, which is, selling. What's the word? Selling. I don't know. Selling something, some opportunity to a business owner, and yeah, okay, that's going to sell. Sure, that will sell. I will not deny that whatsoever. But it's going to last 3 months unless you can deliver over and over and over again, and you don't have complete control. What I learned quite quickly was these businesses that are extremely strong, that have been around. If you go to your nearest industrial park, right? The businesses that have been around for 50 years, they've been doing the same thing. They're usually production facilities. They usually manufacture something, but it's not normally like they're not selling to the consumer. They're selling to businesses, and they usually provide something in particular, a key part of their production process. And it got me thinking, wait a second. Yes, it's less exciting to sell a key part of a production process versus this brand new shiny thing. Sure. But if we do that, the reward and the payoff for taking that path is so much higher. So much higher. And the business continues to come in, and the business sticks with us. It compounds. We can build ridiculous businesses that are incredible, pay you every month for years, just by working a bit differently, just by learning from, legacy. Back in November, the presentation was all about creating that legacy style company, but that's the same path. It's the same idea, same philosophy. So yeah, little bit different, I hope, to what you usually see out there. Now, Dieter in the comments here is asking, in order to offer these services, one needs to find a receptive client, provide some kind of basic audit of his system processes. How would you suggest prospecting workflow to find and engage his customers? Now, I would actually tell you that you do it. Let's say we're talking about a niche we've never walked into before, and none of us know anything about. Once you speak to 2 or 3 of these business owners, you find the problem very quickly. And we're not solving a custom problem. We're basically solving a problem they all have. So it's not as if we're reinventing the wheel for every client that we have. I gave the example of printers, right? Every one of them has the resolution problem, every single one of them. And the same with the copyright problem. Every one of them, we're just solving the common problem across the board. So we don't actually have to get into the business and audit their issues. We can predict their problems. So that's how we get into these businesses. We just, if we've never, I mean, again, we've got lots and lots of niches. We can tell you what the problem is. But if there was ever a niche where we're not in that space, all it takes is 2 or 3 conversations, and we can predict the problems they're going to have. So I'm just going to come on to your second part of that question. How would you suggest prospecting workflow to find and engage these customers? Honestly, the best way to do this is an extremely short email that speaks directly to that very niche problem. So for a printer, for example, I would say I would focus on the resolution problem. How many conversations are you having every day? How much time are you wasting every day to answering these questions about file resolution and copyright? We solve this problem. So again, very short, because remember I said earlier, these business owners don't have time. We've got to be concise with it. We've got to just nail the problem, pique the interest, off we go. That's typically how it works. Now, we'd also use hyper-personalization with that. So we'd have the system analyze their business, find particular problems on their site, have a very concise, I'm not going to say pitch, but paragraph, done. So you've got a personal paragraph, which is 2 or 3 lines. You've got a second paragraph that nails that problem, 2 or 3 lines. Call to action, which is let's chat. We can solve it. Let's chat. Done. That's your email. Basically, what was that? Maybe 4 to 6 lines of email, done and dusted. That's it. So that's what I do. And then GoHighLevel, you've got the sending automations as well. So you just drop leads into it and it will send for you. So that's how we prospect for that. He says, got it, thanks. No worries. Again, I might sound crazy reading the chat out in such detail. It's because people who are listening to the recording can't see the chat. So I like to make sure they know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm responding to. All right. Do we have any other questions? It can be about this. Anything? Wade, do you have a question? I saw you unmute yourself. You got a question?
That's just a given, isn't it?
Yeah. I always love your questions. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I think everything y'all do, you're just adding so much more stuff. I don't think I'm ever going to get to the end of any of the things that you have given us. But my focus today is getting my catalog on my site set up. And I was wondering, is there anything in your program that can help me build a catalog that I can post on my website of my products?
I would probably say, now you're going to have to do, because it's a very specific task that you have there.
Yeah.
I would say you want to take the, I would go into the AI agency program for the website building, and I would take that process, but tweak it to your catalog. So basically, you're not building the whole website and such. It's the AI process I'm trying to get you to take there,
Okay.
and replicate that for your catalog. Because the biggest problem is going to be the descriptions, etc. Repetitive. You've got hundreds of, I know you've got hundreds of different signs and such.
Yeah.
It's going to be repetitive. So what you want to do is you want to automate that process with AI so that it understands the signs and it can follow the same pattern, consistent descriptions. That's going to speed up your process. I don't think there's an automated process to build it at all. I think that's probably your best bet when it comes to just speeding it all up, but also maintaining the quality, right? That's the most important part.
Yeah, I just got finished with all the images.
Yeah.
I have all the images, and oh my goodness gracious, that took forever.
Yeah. So just follow that process. That'll get you a lot of the content you need very, very quickly.
All right. Thank you, brother.
No worries. No worries. Olivia, got a question?
Yeah, just one other question about like how to manage. Okay, like you said, there is on the market tons of very basic AI employee, and they still ask sometimes for, but even if they ask for a basic price, we take a different approach and we focus on the problem and the solution we provide. But how do you manage the expectation in terms of pricing because of what we have seen on the market with more basic solution and the fact that you have to put more work into creating that kind of AI employee if it's not in the for example in the list that we got. How do you manage that to change them to make them understand the value of what you bring compared to what's on the market?
Right. So I would probably use a comparison, right? And I wouldn't say, look, that one's terrible. You know, the one you're looking at $100 or $200 a month is terrible. I would say, look, the reality is you want this problem fixed. Now, if your customers come in, and how many times have you called your say like your TV provider or maybe like your cell phone company, and you're speaking to an AI employee, and it drives you around in circles constantly. You get incredibly frustrated. You hang up the phone. You get nowhere, and you just feel annoyed. Do you want to buy from that company anymore? Because what we're talking about here is we're talking about customers who may not have bought from you before. This is their first experience. The reality is most of what you see out there is going to give them that experience. What we do is we give them experience where they will want to buy from you. They will want to actually work with you. And as a result, it will increase your sales. As a result, it will save customers. It will retain customers, and it will stop you losing customers to your competitors. So the reality is something like that, to that quality, something that's going to actually work for you and take that problem and pain away from you, it's not going to cost $97. It's going to cost you $1,000. But the reality is it can make you 10,000, 15,000. There's one thing I want you to remember, Olivier, is that perception is an interesting thing. And oftentimes, if you have big claims and big boastful whatever, and a customer sees $7 beside it or $27, they don't believe it. So it doesn't matter how good the offer is, they won't believe it. Because there's realism involved, especially now because I've seen a lot of offers. So we can use that lever, right? Which is like, come on, do you really think something? I'm talking about converting customers for a $10,000 roof or whatever the niche would be. You think a $97 product is going to solve that? No, come on. Almost like sorry, I'm struggling to speak today. I influence how they think about it by making it seem a little bit ridiculous. So they think, oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, good point. You know, I'm not going to say it's rubbish. I just sort of dropped the pebble in the pond. Hopefully that answered your question. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
No worries. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Daryl?
Neil.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that. So, you recall that I actually asked you a question whether there are any monthly reports, right? Statistical reports or executive summary reports to update the customer on the progress every month and the incremental benefits, for example, number of missed calls prevented and other metrics like additional sales and so on. And then case studies. Then you say that you will look into it for as a request. Later on, prioritize amongst other requests Yeah, you call that right?
Somewhat, yeah. Not quite on the field reporting.
I mean, this ties in with what you're saying that we need to like show the customer what are the benefits that is being achieved for the system, right?
Yeah.
So that it is some kind of to remind them every month without fail that these are the benefits that you actually achieve, that you should stick with me. If not, this will be the pain that you will have.
Yeah.
if you don't have the AI employee or the system as a whole, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then you're talking about niche specific automation that we can give. So so apart from the we should have a baseline as of the generic benefits that is achieved, and then of course then we will also supplement to the customer with a more specific automation benefits for each particular niche lah. So there will be a generic benefit, and as well as benefits and a more niche specific benefit lah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm thinking that it would be not only benefits lah. We will also look into the conversations that is ingrained. I mean, whether that we can track the history or something like that of the conversations, and identify also the opportunities or pain points that is frequently mentioned in the conversation. Do you understand what I mean? If let's say the customer always in the conversation with the AI employee, there's this particular problem, that printing problems, let's say that the customer is always facing, and it's repeated. This pain is around for 100 of the conversations with the bot. Then we can know that these are specific problems. There is an opportunity for us to automate. You see.
Yeah, they
collect data via the conversation with the bot, and then summarize it, and then ask the AI to actually identify what are the common problems that there's opportunities to help the customer to resolve, so that every time we are giving suggestions to the customer
I think
I'm just thinking only data collection
Yeah. I think that there probably is a way to do that, because what you'd have to do is you'd have to have it coming from. You'd have to have it sending the conversation transcripts from every chat somewhere, and then you'd have to have a second, basically employee, right? A second AI employee analyzing those conversations, which is probably that's most likely possible, but that would be the framework. It would be
it can translate it to the Google Sheets or something like that, and then AI would then analyze and summarize on the main problems that is happening frequently for the customer. Then we can have the opportunities to recommendations to the customer so that we are doing something that is of benefit to the customer. You see. I'm just thinking
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
You don't mind?
No, because it's like it is the the what do they call sample groups or
correct. Based on the past conversations we collect the data and populate it to the Excel or something, a spreadsheet or Google Drive. Then they will AI will analyze and see what are the potential pain points that we can help the customer to resolve which is frequently mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. It's like those test groups, right? That's what it is, and that's very valuable information for business owners. And these big companies do this. The problem is smaller companies don't have access to it. Well, now they do.
I mean, I mean, there's some way we can do it at our back end without disrupting the customer's business or what. We can, and we actually offer to do that to the customer. That would be the customer will even be more. The customer satisfaction will increase.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. Thanks.
No worries. All right. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, anything that you wanted to say? Feel free. I'll give you a few seconds here. Anybody at all?
Yes.
Daryl, yep, go for it.
Sorry. So there's based on the previous knowledge sharing on the AI employee, I mean, there's some follow-up that Alyssa volunteered to give us some SOP and checklist for dealing with the setting up the AI employees on a structured basis lah. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure whether is there any news on that? Is it in progress?
Most likely not, because she actually spent like 2 days there in the accident and emergency room after getting kicked
I see. Okay.
So probably not.
Yeah. I mean, when she's available, when she's okay and available, then they will ask her.
She was.
Don't trouble her so much. Thanks.
So good. She was basically kicked by one of the horses, and then she fell to the ground, and then one of the other horses almost trampled on her, or did trample on her. So it was a pretty. She's good. She's all good, but it was pretty scary at the time, you know.
Hope that she recovers.
She's fine. She's fine.
Yeah.
But very scary at the time for sure.
Okay. Then don't want to trouble her. Thanks a lot.
No worries. All right. Anybody else have anything they wanted to cover? No worries, people are saying thank you in the chat there. No worries at all. And yeah, so basically what we've got coming is I'm going to do a little bit of customer loyalty stuff, how you can build systems, apps, things like that, customer loyalty, and something that we're doing there, which is just it's an add-on, right? It's an add-on for what we're doing here. It integrates perfectly with the reactivation, AI employees. It's just a little piece that is one of those revenue turners that generates additional revenue that we can directly prove. So it's a very good asset to have. And again, it's just something I've been doing. I thought, you know what? Let me give this to you as well. And we've got some more stuff coming. We've actually built out a complete HVAC AI employee. So not just the knowledge base, we've actually got the AI employee, which we'll be releasing to everybody as well, completely built out. We'll be doing that for the 26 different niches as well. Actually physically building the AI employees, taking that final step so that you have them. And yeah, we've got a lot of stuff, exciting stuff coming for you. It will all be basically free of charge.